In 2015, the Arizona Cardinals made it to the NFC Conference game, and before the 2016 season, there was a lot of optimism with them for the fact that a lot of people favored them to go to the Super Bowl. Now, the Arizona Cardinals did not make it to the Super Bowl in 2016, and they did not even make the playoffs. It was very disappointing. By the first quarter of the season, the Arizona Cardinals were well out of the playoffs. There was a high chance of them, over a 90% chance after that 1-3 start, that they won't make the playoffs. And to be honest, that's a true statistic right there. The link is in the description if you want more proof of it. Now, when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, they are a very talented group, and I think Bruce Arians is a good head coach in this league. But I think there's some things that I look at that kind of caused them to not be as successful in 2016 season, and it's kind of a make or break for the 2017 Cardinals if they're real about it or they're faking about it. Now, when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, I definitely think that they're a talented group of guys, but I look at the head coach. The head coach does not match the culture of the locker room, and I kind of put that on the GM, Steve Keim, right here. Now, I know Steve Keim was very highlighted in the 2015 season, and he should be. He did a good job of bringing them in and whatnot, bringing certain players. Dwight Freeney was a good player, re-signing certain players, and he was definitely highlighted in the All or Nothing season with the Arizona Cardinals, a documentary that was featured this summer on NFL Network. And I think one thing about Steve Keim is he's not very aggressive in free agency. That's one thing for sure. He usually brings in veterans that kind of will help kind of turn the thing, but they're more of a drafting organization. But teams that usually win now, you're going to have to go up there and sign free agents. Now, most importantly, I would say the locker room for Bruce Arians does not work. Now, Bruce Arians is a tough guy. He was a guy that grew up, that he had one of his opportunities taken away from him. He was eventually kicked out of one of his schools for underage drinking, and he was very, very motivated to get back. A guy that plays on his chip on his shoulder, and it's the partial reason why a guy similar to Tyrann Mathieu, who had a similar event happened to him where I believe Tyrann Mathieu did something in regards where he was using an illegal substance, and he got kicked out of his college program, more importantly, and then he had to kind of redeem himself through the NFL. So when I look at that, Bruce Arians likes guys that plays on the chip on his shoulder. When I look at a player similar to a Carson Palmer, who I think is kind of soft, I think to myself that why is this guy with Bruce Arians? Obviously, we know why he's with Bruce Arians is because I think he handles being blitzed well. I think the one thing that makes Carson Palmer, the one great thing about him, everything else is I'm not impressed by, but the one great thing about him is he moves well in the pocket. That's the one thing, but it's moving well in the pocket. It's not exactly throwing the ball. Throwing the ball, he is a good deep ball, but that's really the only thing that's with Carson Palmer that's significant play-wise. But his personality, though, I found him to be a soft player. I don't think he's very tough. Now, when it comes to him being clutch, since 2003, so it's been quite a while for him, so 14 seasons, he has had one playoff win. That is absolutely pathetic, because when I look at him, this guy was a first overall pick, and I feel like quarterbacks that aren't very clutch and struggle with clutchness are usually your quarterbacks that obviously aren't very confident in ideas, that don't have a cockiness to them. And I look at that, and I think Bruce Arians would rather have a cocky player than an unconfident player. And Carson Palmer is not very confident. Yeah, I know in 2015 he led the league in game-winning drives, but come on. The most game-winning drives in NFL history belongs to Peyton Manning, yet Peyton Manning, we all know, was a choke artist. So that's why I'm not a big fan of game-winning drives, and even he can do it. But he's just not that clutch of a player. And if you look at Chandler Costanza last year, he missed a lot of easy field goals or a lot of easy extra points. And obviously, kicker, a lot of them are big chokes. They don't have that mentality. They don't have that cockiness, that confidence that Bruce Arians looked at. And Bruce Arians was the OC for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2008. So let's just look at the 2008 Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's look at their players. Ben Roethlisberger. We all know Ben Roethlisberger is a tough player with all the hits he takes and the fact that he can drive down the field in the final 2 minutes of the Super Bowl. I would say out of the there's three quarterbacks in my head that I would trust in the final 2 minutes of the Super Bowl to make a game-winning touchdown drive or a do-or-die touchdown. That's Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Ben Roethlisberger. Those are the 3 quarterbacks I would think. Those are the 3 big ones that I would definitely want to pick. I would probably put Roethlisberger third. So definitely a tough player right there. Hines Ward was one of the most feared wide receivers. He was so tough. Even the defenders feared him because how physical he was and all that. He was gritty. James Harrison, tough player. Troy Polamalu, tough player. Carson Palmer just doesn't fit that. And I know I'm labeling on Carson Palmer, but he's a quarterback, so he's obviously significant to the Vikings. Then you look at John Ross. Now, John Ross was a player, John Brown. He was a player, big player, very fast, and a lot of people like him. There's times when I saw him the All or Nothing documentary where he dropped a couple of passes and he looked way too down. He looked like he was depressed. He felt like he was the end of the world. I'm like, buddy, first things first, you're facing the Philadelphia Eagles secondary, so of course you're going to have a second chance of getting it. And secondly, you're one of these players. You shouldn't get that down because you got a couple passes. Why? Because your coach did a couple mean things onto you and you got that down yourself. It's okay not to be happy with yourself. The fact that you got completely down himself just doesn't fit the culture what Bruce Arians wants. Now, when I look at Bruce Arians, I definitely think that he's a tough guy. He needs to have that locker room around him. And there were times in the documentary where he had to adjust their plays, but I thought it was a complete joke, and it's just a complete false of a tone. When you got Bruce Arians, who talks about that you need to win a Super Bowl, he tries to be tough on the players, like how, well, I don't like Thursday Night Football either, but I'm sick of whining about it, like stuff similar to that. And then you see him in the locker room after he beat the 49ers who aren't a very good football team. And when he talks about them, he says, and after they beat them, he was talking about how this is a trap game and all that, and he goes up to Carson Palmer and he goes, hey, a win's a win. I'm thinking to myself, a win's a win? This is not the attitude that you want, Bruce Arians. This is the attitude where you need to work hard at it. And this is my issue. He can't act like that. He's acting like a completely different person than he has to. And I look at that and think to myself, okay, Bruce, you gotta build a locker room here. But at the same time, though, the locker room's kind of acted up. So if I have to put the blame on it, I'll have to put the blame mostly on the players. The management here, I would say, for the most part, is not really the bad part, because I think the management, ideally, can do some stuff right here, but also I look at the coach, and even though he might have to get a little bit soft to adjust his locker room, but this locker room does not fit him. I look at the defensive players, or I'll think 3 players in mind that fit Bruce Arians well. Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, and Larry Fitzgerald. And when I look at that, I definitely think to myself that they are players that are tough, because obviously we all know about Tyrann Mathieu's redemption story. Then we also know about how Patrick Peterson in the NFC Conference game, they're down by 3 scores. He gets a pick 6 and he gets a really nice return out of it. That just shows that he's a fighter. And Larry Fitzgerald had a big touchdown catch that ended up, and he ran down the field and got at the time that would have been the game-winning touchdown if Santonio Holmes didn't catch that play in the corner of the end zone. Now, when I look at the Arizona Cardinals, those are big 3 players. But also, Larry Fitzgerald, he's going to be 34 in a couple weeks, okay? His birthday's on August 31st. That's a problem. And the reason why that's a problem, that's a drop-off for wide receivers at that age. And sure, I will give great players the benefit of the doubt that maybe they could obviously come back and be an ageless one. I give great players that benefit. It doesn't always pan out similar to a Darrelle Revis, but sometimes it pans out for a guy like Tom Brady. That's the difference right there. So I'm at least giving him a shot. And also that's the same reason why I'm also giving Adrian Peterson a shot to come back. But I wouldn't be surprised if he sucks in 2017 or he's great in 2017. But to get that off my chest. And so when I look at the Arizona Cardinals, there's still some time there to get some improvement. I think they should have signed Morris Claiborne and Brandon Carr when they got on the market. Those guys could have been some real good help. They fit the system, and both of them could be number 1 corners. Obviously, maybe not shutdown corners, but guys you could put there. Anquan Boldin's on market. He'd be a nice reunion right there. He's a great third down target, which third down is very important too. I think it would be very important for them. Second outside receiver, he's a tough guy too. No question about it. Darrelle Revis is on the market. I think you should go after Revis. He's played in Todd Bowles' system, but he struggled as a number 1 corner. You put him at number 2 corner, bam, that will work well. And I think in the future, when I look at the Arizona Cardinals, they have a chance to make the playoffs, but they're going to have to make some moves here to get serious about, just kind of toughen up the locker room. And some people say the Arizona Cardinals are changing, but I really, really don't know. I just look at it and think to myself about the Cardinals that I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs, but they do have the talent to get back to the playoffs. But at the same time, though, it's just concerning to look at what the Cardinals are gonna do, because I just don't know. I made another video on my review on the Arizona Cardinals and all nothing season with them. I've done a review of that. Click in the link in the description. I'll be back tomorrow, guys. I'll see you next time. Peace.